Hey everyone, welcome back to the Crafty Couple. Today we've got some really fun DIY home decor ideas that only cost a few dollars. And we also wanted to thank Cricut for sponsoring today's video. We are going to show you how fun and easy it is to use a Cricut Explore 3 for one of our DIYs. So let's jump in and get started. We're going to be making a modern bowl, and to start I'm going to be using this plastic bowl from Dollar Tree and a couple of these paper towel rolls. So the first thing that I want to do here is make a template for the legs on this bowl. For the legs, I'm not really doing any measurements, I'm just eyeballing what looks good, so you can make these taller or shorter, whatever you like. And the first thing that I'm doing here for the template is cutting it to the size and then also cutting it around the paper towel roll so that it'll fit underneath the bowl and then also kind of up on the side there. Once we put tape and some compound on here, it's going to all mesh together and look good. But for right now, we just need something for the base of those legs. Once I have one made, I'm just going to hold up my others to get about the same size and then also try to cut them the same way I did the other one so that will fit underneath the bowl and then up on the sides a little ways. Once we have those cut out, we can move on to taping those to the bottom, and I'm using some Dollar Tree tape. This was just not very good. It's the duct tape that they have there. It's very thin and it doesn't like to tear in a straight line. So I had some strands coming out here and it just wasn't very easy to work with. So if you have a little bit nicer tape, I would use that. All we're really doing here is just trying to get these secured to the bottom here. So however you can do that, the easiest way, that's what I would go with. We're going to be covering it with some joint compound or spackling here in a minute, so it won't really matter. We're going to cover that all up anyway. And then just to seal the bottom of these, I'm going to put tape over the very bottom so that it's all covered and sealed up. That way we can put that compound over all of it and we don't have to worry about that hole. Now, if you do need to, before you put the tape on the bottom, I would recommend just sitting it upright. And if any of the legs seem to be a little bit longer than the other, you can just trim those a little bit to make this more even and lay flat. Once we have everything taped together, we can move on to adding our compound. So I'm just going to be using some drywall mud or compound. We have this big tub, so I like to use this. You can use spackling, or you could try like the baking soda and the paint, but I'm not sure if that would work quite well because you need a decent amount of this to cover up all of that tape. So I would probably recommend like a spackling type material. And all I'm doing here is going to put this around the entire outside and the inside. You can use like a little spackling knife, or I'm just using a popsicle stick here to put that all the way around. And then I'm also going to just try and add some of these textures with this bowl. This is optional. You can really just leave it as is or add some different textures if you want. And then to smooth it out a little bit more, I'm just going to sand it down. I'm just using some black paint now to paint the entire thing, and I like using a sponge. I'm going to kind of paint it on there or brush it and then just dab it after so I can avoid any of those brush strokes. I want it to look really kind of organic and I guess stone or ceramic looking. So the fun thing about this is you can do it any color you want. You can add more texture if you wanted black and then maybe some gray in there to add some more dimension. I just wanted to go kind of a flat black for this one, but I think it turned out really nice and kind of gives it a high-end modern look. For our Cricut project, what we wanted to do is take something that we've had and kind of use it for something else and give it a upcycled look. So this is just a piece that we got from Hobby Lobby on sale. It was originally $10. I believe we got it for $2.50. I think it was like 75% off. And we've just kind of had it sitting around the house. We've used it here and there for storage or like a tray, but I really wanted to elevate it and do something new with it. So Luckily, we have the Cricut Explore 3, and again, we want to thank them so much for working with us. It's a lot of fun to do these projects, and there's so much that you can do with them. So the first thing that I'm doing here is I'm going to take some of this sticky cardstock paper from Cricut, and I'm going to cut it out and place it right here in the middle. Now, you could paint it if you wanted to, but this was just a really simple way to cover that space up and give it a white background. The next part I'm going to add is a circle here in the middle, and I'm just going to draw this circle around this bowl so I have a general idea of how big I want this to be. I'm not going to make any hard lines. I want this to be really organic kind of looking and with some brush strokes. So I'm going to be using this Sherwin-Williams succulent paint. It's a really pretty kind of neutral gray-green color. And then once we have that painted, we can move on to creating our image with the Cricut. I've always loved that you can create a ton of different things with the Cricut and that it can cut over 100 different materials. But what I love about the Explorer 3 is that you can now use the smart materials and you can cut up to 12 feet at once, which is absolutely awesome when you're creating some of these bigger projects. When you get your Cricut, you'll get access to the design space, which allows you to create your images. You can download a ton of different things. You can get recommendations, see what other people are making, and even get tutorials on how to make certain things. So it makes it really easy and convenient for you when you're looking for ideas and wanting to create your own. So for example, I'm just going to come in here and search for boho to see what comes up. Now, the first thing here you can see are the images associated with that keyword. And you can scroll through here and there's going to be a lot of different designs that you can then take and create your own images, your own designs. You can make stickers, you can make templates, even stencils. There's a lot of different things that you can do here. But for today's video, I'm going to be making some line art. So I'm just going to go in here and type in line art and see what we can find. So you can see there's a lot of examples that pop up when you search that, and there's one that I really like specifically, and that's going to be this one here over on the left. I think that it gives a very high-end kind of contemporary look, maybe modern boho, and that's the design that we're going to use to cut out and place on our sign. So all I did was click add to canvas, and that's going to pull this over here and where we can edit it more if we wanted to make it smaller, bigger, remove things, add things. And the flower here, I actually don't want that color, so I'm going to remove that. So all we have is the black line art here. And then to size this, I measured this out a little bit beforehand, so I'm going to actually make this a little bit bigger so that it fits our space. And you can easily do that. You can just click up or down, or you can type in manually a specific size that you want for this. After that, we're going to go over to make it. Next, it'll pull up the screen to determine if we're using the smart material or if we need to use a mat. So you can still use the mat with this one, but like I said, the awesome thing is we can now use the smart materials, which allow us to use those bigger pieces cut up to 12 feet. So we can click on that and continue. And then after we've determined we're using the smart material, we can choose which one we're using. So there's going to be a lot of different options. For us, we're going to be using the smart vinyl that is permanent. So I'll go ahead and click on that option, and then we can kind of proceed with the rest of the directions here. Those are going to be the basic steps to get this set up so that we can start cutting. Now, once we've selected all of our options and we're ready to go, it's going to tell us now to load in our material. So we can click this button here, and that's going to actually pull in the vinyl and measure it so that we can start cutting everything. Once it's done that, it'll now tell us that it's good to go, and all we have to do now is press that play button and it will go to work for us. And once it starts cutting, it's a lot of fun to kind of sit down and watch everything come together. I know our kids always love to run over and watch the machine do its thing and watch that design kind of come together as it cuts all of those pieces. The one thing that I love though about the Cricut is it really truly is an investment for yourself, whether you're creating decor pieces just for your home or trying to create a business. You could easily create a lot of different things that you could sell and make back your initial investment with the Cricut. So there's a lot of different things that you can do with this machine, not only for yourself, but for others as well. And I'm just going to be cutting the side off here to save some of this vinyl, even though it's smaller. You never know, you might have some smaller pieces that you want to use, and that's a perfect little strip there. That way we're not wasting any of that. The next part here is just to weed out any of those pieces that we don't want. So I'm going to take my little tool here and peel off the vinyl that we're not going to be using. Essentially, all we're doing is revealing that final piece that we're going to use for our project. Once we have all those pieces taken out, we can then move on to adding our actual art to our sign. So the first thing that I'm going to do for that is use some of this transfer tape. I'm going to cut that down to size, and then I will place that over the image that we've cut out so that we can take that off and then place it down onto our sign. An easy way to just get this on is to peel a little bit of this back, and we're going to line up this edge that we've peeled off with the actual design, and then I'm just going to kind of peel this back and allow that to slide along there. So that's going to help prevent bubbles, and just an easy way to place this down on here without it sticking to itself. And then next here, I'm just going to kind of apply some pressure and rub this on here so that the actual design will stick to the transfer tape, and then we can peel that off and put it onto our design. Now, if any of those pieces don't stick to the transfer tape, you can just kind of go in there and rub on there and just add a little bit more pressure to get that to stick onto the transfer tape. Now we're just going to lay this down where we want it to go, and then we're going to kind of do the same thing that we did when we were trying to get the transfer tape to stick to the design. We're going to rub it on there a little bit and add some pressure so that our actual cutout design now of that vinyl will stick to our final project. And that's it. There's not a lot to this project, but what makes it so easy is being able to use the Cricut for this design. I'm not sure what I would have done, maybe try and freehand it or a stencil or something, but the Cricut makes it so easy to just cut out the design that I want, and then I can transfer it onto here and make an absolutely beautiful piece using this upcycled wood that we got from Hobby Lobby and then the Cricut machine. So if you guys want more information or you want to get your own, make sure to check out this link right here. It'll tell you everything that you need to about the Cricut and the other materials that come with it. So thank you again. We appreciate it, Cricut, and I hope you guys enjoyed this project. For this modern lantern, I'm going to be using these wood pieces from Dollar Tree. So this is going to be the top of this wood box, and then also 2 of these wood organizers that you can find in the Dollar Tree craft section. The first thing that I'm going to be doing is staining all 3 of these pieces with this Minwax wood stain in the color of Early American. Now you're not going to be seeing the top of this, so I didn't worry about staining that. And then also the bottom here, you will see a little bit, so I tried to stain this as much as I could. Now there's some glue that is on there from when they made this piece that just isn't going to take the stain. And then this other piece you're not going to see, so I didn't worry about staining that either. Now these are some wood stakes from Walmart. These are about $2 each. I think they're like $1.97. And you can find them kind of in the area where they have for sale signs and like house numbers, and there's a little section there that you can find these stakes. So I'm going to use these for the vertical pieces that are going to hold everything together. Now what I want to do is cut the point off here, and then we'll measure these out. It ended up being 34 inches, so I'm just going to cut these to be 17 inches each, using as much of this piece as I can. So just a really easy way to cut this, I'm just marking it at 17 inches, and then I'll go ahead and cut that and use that piece that I cut off as a template. I'll hold it up to the remaining amount of that stake, mark it, and then I'll cut it there. That way I know they're the exact same length and I don't have to worry about any more measurements. Now we just need to add that middle part that's going to act as a handle and connect our two outer pieces. So there's two ways you could do this. You could measure it from the inside or the outside of these stakes. So for mine, I just did the inside, but you can measure it from the outside of one stake to the outside of the other one. That way this piece would actually sit on top, or if you're doing it the way that I'm doing it, it'll sit in between those two pieces. Either way, doesn't really matter. It's just kind of preference on which way you like to do it. It does look a little bit different, but I don't think it matters too much in the end. For this project, I was just using hot glue to glue these together, but I would recommend using some wood glue for this. It would help give it some more strength and stability in the long run. You just have a little bit longer dry times for that, but I would recommend using the wood glue over the hot glue. So this is where I messed up just a little bit. I ended up gluing these first and then I painted them black. What I would do instead would be probably to paint them first or connect one side of it, I guess like an L shape of it, and then leave one of the stakes off of it. You'll see here in a minute why. But what I'm doing here is just adding some black paint. You really can use any paint that you want. And then to bring all this together, we're gonna glue that bottom piece of wood here on the very bottom organizer. Then we'll flip that over and then we'll glue our handle on here. And you'll see what I was talking about, why I would have waited to glue it together. So right there, I had to pull it apart because the issue that I was running into is I was trying to slide these pieces in between both of those with the glue and it just wasn't really working out. So instead I just pulled it apart and then I'm going to be putting my glue on one side and I'll glue both of those pieces on, and then I will glue on the other side to all three of those connecting points. And that was just way easier than trying to fit these pieces in between those and glue them together. So hopefully that makes sense. I would just leave one side off, glue those first pieces down just like this, and then glue on our final piece just like that. It's a lot easier to do it that way. And that's really it. There's not a lot to this project. It costs you a few dollars. It's a very kind of minimalist design that I think you could find in a high-end department store for a lot of money. But the nice thing about it, super easy, only costs you a few dollars. So let me know in the comments what you think, if you like that kind of sleek, minimalist, modern design, or if you would have done something a little bit different. Thanks for watching, guys. We hope you enjoyed today's video. If you want to see more of these easy but high-end DIYs, make sure to click through right here. And as always, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon so you can be notified every time we upload a new video.